Aren't you supposed to be on the caring, sharing left where, you believe in the sanctity of life?
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels.
Piers Morgan took Taylor Lorenz and basically anyone else who has been publicly celebrating the murder or assassination of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson to task. On a recent episode of the Piers Morgan Uncensored show, he had Taylor Lorenz along with other members of the left and some people on the right on this panel. Morgan displayed utter disgust at some of what Lorenz had to say, but did she have a point? So the segment started off with a compilation that included some of the statements that have been made by various figures, both on the left and I think others who might not necessarily be on the left, but we can't use those videos because they're copyrighted. But the compilation did include Hassan Piker and Taylor Lorenz. Let's hear what they had to say.
I saw someone say this is like finding out about Robin Hood in the 1300s. Like every new update that comes from this guy, I'm like, that's so sick.
When you see the entire internet, left and right, united around one thing, and that is celebrating, I hate to say it too, the death of a healthcare CEO, you have to ask why. And I don't think that has been discussed at all.
And when Taylor Lorenz expressed that she had feelings of joy following the murder of Thompson, Piers had a hard time understanding how that could possibly be the case. Take a look.
Aren't you supposed to be on the caring, sharing left where, you believe in the sanctity of life?
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like.
Seriously?
I mean,
joy in a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Of Americans that being murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people. And the many millions of Americans that have watched people that I care about suffer and in some cases die.
So look, the sentiment that Lorenz is sharing there, especially toward the end in regard to innocent people needing health insurance to actually, cover their claims and dying as a result of the insurance companies refusing to do so. In the case of UnitedHealthcare, analysis indicates that somewhere between 32% to 33% of claims had been denied. And so, that resonates with me, that message resonates with me. I'm currently experiencing what it's like to undergo this whole healthcare process as a very close family member of mine is struggling with cancer. And it's awful in so many ways. And it breaks my heart that so many people deal with this on a regular basis. At the same time, I think that, I don't know, I just feel like saying that you feel joy over someone getting assassinated, like even if you do feel that way, I just don't think it's helpful to say that because it turns a lot of people off to the very accurate message that I think Taylor Lorenz is trying to get out there. What do you think?
Yeah, look, you have to separate out the two different issues, right? One is the murder and the other is the problems with the healthcare system. If you say because there was a murder, there are no problems with the healthcare system, or that you should never be allowed to talk about the problems of the healthcare system, well, that's absurd, and I'll never agree to that. If you say, hey, the murder was a good idea, or I celebrated, that's also absurd, and I'll never agree to that, right? So violence is never the answer. Now, to be fair to Taylor Lorenz, she immediately retracted joy. She did it a couple of times in the show.
She did, yep.
She said, no, that was the wrong word. Now, but she did say she had no empathy for the guy who was shot, and I don't agree with that. I have empathy for his family, he's got kids, etc. So guys, that leads to the main point. And by the way, Piers was also focusing on her laugh or whatever. I think she was just smiling in an awkward way because of the way that Piers was framing the questions. Look, I agree with Piers that you should be outraged by the assassination, but I think that people are misinterpreting what Taylor did a little bit. But on the other hand, it's not like some folks aren't kind of going towards celebrating what happened, right?
Yeah.
And so is to say that that's not happening is not accurate either. Okay, but the most important thing is you have to separate out the people versus the system. So what I mean by that is, so that's one guy who happens to be the CEO of that company, right? Killing that guy or hurting that guy doesn't fix the system at all, right? So like, it's the wrong way to get there. And in fact, it reminds me of like people who say, what Hamas did on October 7th is fine because Israel is so bad on the occupation and all these other things. No, you're being counterproductive. When you say things that turn people off and push people away from you, like, hey, maybe that murder's not so bad, right? Then you're hurting the cause of actually fixing the underlying problem, right? So in the Israel situation, the underlying problem is the occupation. In this situation, the underlying problem is that we have a privatized healthcare industry that on average, if we're being honest about it, kills about 76,000 people a year for profit. That's how it's built. One person isn't going to change that, whether they're alive or dead. But saying that, hey, we were heartbroken over that, that's why we shouldn't save the 76,000 other people is not fair. And there's one more thing, Anna, real quick. When people like that are on air, and I think that maybe it includes us, right? And people that are politicians, etc., they have more empathy for people like the UnitedHealthcare CEO because there, but for the grace of God, go I, they think, right? And so they should have empathy for him, no problem with that. But what I don't sense is any empathy for the 76,000 dead.
Yeah, 100%. But I want to be clear. I do not celebrate violence and murder. I want to be clear about that, and I've been clear about that since the beginning of this story. However, I differ from you in the empathy department. I don't feel empathy, and if that makes me, if that makes me a bad person, I feel empathy for his family. I feel empathy for his wife and his sons, right? It's heartbreaking that they've lost their father, but I do see him as part of a system of greed that has caused so much harm to so many people. And by the way, the other thing I want to say real quick is, look, there's been a lot of attention on how these health insurance companies deny claims, and I think it's just to focus on that, but I don't think that only focusing on that allows us to look at the bigger picture of all the various elements of our healthcare industry that happen to be broken. So for instance, look, we also have to talk about what the providers charge, right? And so when you look at, if you have health insurance and your claim gets authorized, usually you'll get some sort of notice in the mail. You can look at it, you can see what the hospital or what the doctor charged your healthcare company. And it's outrageous. It is outrageous. Part of the reason why we have these insane, premiums and why health insurance costs so much is due to the fact that the providers in some cases, the doctors, the physicians, the anesthesiologists, whatever it is, will charge an exorbitant amount. And that also leads to the insurance companies in some cases denying the claims because they're like, no, we're not gonna pay for this, this is crazy.
So look, the reason why I think people have the wrong focus when they're talking about Brian Thompson or any CEO of any of these companies is because I can't begin to describe to you how little it matters who's at the top. The system is what matters.
I agree with you on that.
So let me explain why though for folks who don't understand how it works. Because oftentimes you'll think, well, I make decisions in my life and I'm responsible for those decisions. No, if Brian Thompson said, and this has actually happened in the past and we've reported on it, hey, you know what? This is unconscionable. We're denying 32% of the claims. People are dying, people are getting sick, and we're just doing that for profit. So I'm not going to do it anymore, and I'm going to bring that number down. What would have happened is he would have immediately been fired. He would have been erased, not from life, but from his career. He would have been fired instantly, and then they would have hired someone else. And if they didn't want to rob you, then they would have fired him and they would have replaced him with someone else. So killing one guy is so irrelevant, let alone immoral.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. But I see that as different from me feeling empathy, right? Like, again, I'm not celebrating it. I am not in any way encouraging violence or saying that violence is a solution. I actually think the assassination, you're right, did not solve a damn thing. But it's different to I don't know, like, am I supposed to shed a tear? Like, am I supposed to feel deeply saddened by what happened?
So it does, look, I don't really care what people feel about it. It's not that important to me. What's important to me is fixing the system. So what actually, out of all of this giant mess and people blaming each other nonstop, the thing that frustrates me most is that mainstream media absolutely positively refuses to talk about the core of the issue. So why do you think the left and right are uniting on this? Like, and by the way, here's another case. It's an unfortunate circumstance that led to it, but we've been telling you all along, there's a lot of people on the right wing who also hate corporate rule, who also are getting crunched in the same exact way that you are. So does it not jar mainstream media? Oh, that's so interesting. The left wing and the right wing are both so mad about our healthcare system that a lot of them are even saying they don't even mind that a guy was killed over it, right? That should be jarring to them. Instead, they're like, murder is terrible. You're all terrible, 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 terrible people, okay? The only thing that matters is the CEOs and the executives. Well, no, I don't agree with that either. I think that's a terrible way to look at the world. And you have to ask why? Why are they so mad? Why did this guy do it, let alone the fact to forget him doing it? Why did so many people start fan clubs of him? Right now, the Yelp reviews of the McDonald's that turned him in is at near zero because people keep, again, right wing and left wing. I mean, this is such a silly example of it, but it gives you a symbolic reaction to what's happening. And they're saying there's a rat in your kitchen. They're calling the people who turned him in rats and snitches, et cetera, because they're so mad at the healthcare system. And mainstream media goes, well, I don't see it.
I know, but
I don't see it.
We've talked about the failures of the media and why those failures exist a billion times. I mean, number one is, of course, corporate capture of the press, but also the fact that journalism went from being almost like a vocation that was pursued by working class people, by the real muckrakers, and now it's mostly employed by various Ivy League graduates, affluent individuals who are kind of out of touch with like the majority of Americans and what they're facing.
Massively out of touch.
Yes, massively out of touch. But look, this is the other really difficult conversation that I think we need to have, because you are correct in that this is an issue that transcends partisanship, right? This is an issue that is impacting Americans regardless of their political affiliation or identity. The majority of Americans agree that the system is broken, but it's not gonna get fixed, Cenk.
100%, which leads me to the second culprit. The media's cover for the politicians who are the actual crooks. So who can actually fix the system, right?
The politicians who are literally bribed by the health insurance industry to not fix the system, Cenk.
And that's why I keep going back to mainstream media, because they then tell us, oh, you guys are outrageous. No, these politicians are such honest, wonderful people, and they're having a real legitimate debate about which system is better. There is no debate about which system is better. Universal healthcare is literally every other developed nation on earth has it. It costs half as much and they live 4 years longer. There's no question at all about which system is better, but mainstream media will lie to you and the crooked politicians will lie to you because they all get giant sums of money from healthcare companies as advertisers and in campaign donations. So what I really, really want is for the right wing and the left wing to forget about this Luigi guy and to wake up, wake up. All the politicians are crooks. Almost all of mainstream media are crooks. And they are the ones that have given you this oppressive system that is literally killing us. And it's killing us for profit. And it is inarguable that it's for profit. So again, one more time. So they have to keep their costs low and their revenue high. What's their cost? Actual healthcare for us. Why do you think UnitedHealthcare denied 32% of the claims? Because that's their costs. They'd rather let you die. And they make that decision every day over and over again. Let them die, let them die, let them die. Okay, why? Because we're gonna make more money and the stock market's gonna be happy with us. And they made $20 billion a year making those decisions that killed real Americans. And not one person in media cares, and not one person in Washington cares. To be fair, there's a couple of people, of course, Bernie Sanders, O'Connor, et cetera, and there's some decent people in media. But overall, 98% of them are like, who cares? Did the campaign contributions come in? Did the advertising check come in? So what? Kill him, kill him, kill him. No, and aren't you guys, look, wait. So we're all mad at, now I'm worked up. Now we're mad at Taylor Lorenz, we're mad at Haas, we're mad at all these other people for not having appropriate empathy or whatever the hell for UnitedHealthcare CEO. I have the empathy, but Where's your goddamn empathy for the 76,000 dead? Where is it, huh? I don't see any of it. Is anybody on TV crying? All the multi-millionaire anchors? Oh my God, so your parents might die because they have cancer or this and they got denied coverage. They don't give a damn about the average person. Those crooked politicians that they cover for all the time, greedily taking the goddamn checks and go, yeah, go ahead, kill them, who cares? Who cares? We know what the better system is, but I want the corruption. I want the money, Lebowski. So I'm sick of them, and I hate that they have no empathy for the average person.
Cenk, our lawmakers are very likely personally invested in healthcare stock.
They're such crooks.
Okay, but there's no law preventing them from investing in individual stocks. So what would make anyone think that our lawmakers, who are both legally bribed by these companies, okay, but also are personally invested in stocks related to these companies, what makes you think that they would ever pass any legislation that would hurt their own personal investments?
We live under corporate rule, and the people who profit off of these corporate, corruption that create, by the way, kill off capitalism. There's no competition because it's crony capitalism. They capture the government through their bribes. And I'll tell you, some of you wonder why I feel a little bit more optimistic after the election, even though I desperately didn't want Donald Trump to win. Because yeah, Trump won and he's a bull in a china shop and that has 100 problems with it, okay? But mainstream media, those goddamn liars, they were defeated. The establishment of both parties, they're giant liars and they're crooks and they were defeated. So yeah, I'm a little happy that those evil sons of bitches were defeated. And every time we say stuff like this, they're like, no, you have to cancel the Young Turks. Cancel them, no. How dare you stick up for the average person? Well, what happened now? You losers, what did you do? You sucked up to your corporate donors? And what'd you get? Loss after loss after loss. And now you want me to have empathy for those corporate Democrats, for the mainstream media? No, I have no empathy for them. They had all of this coming. For God's sake, both left-wing and right-wing populists, wake up, wake up. What do you think this is like? You think, oh, if we just privatize it more, if we just give more to Wall Street, more to their corporate CEOs, we do more, we allow for more bribery of our politicians, that's the answer? Because a lot of your right-wing media and your right-wing politicians are gonna tell you that. Oh, no, don't actually protect the average guy. Protect the CEOs. All right, let's see how that turns out. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.